Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Professor Hassan and you are watching my channel Professor Hassan Hamayu. Dear students, 2 days ago Ppsc conducted a very important paper for the post of statistical officer. Inshallah, today I will discuss very tricky, conceptual and important questions of this paper. Before starting today's lecture, I want to make two announcements for you. First of all, I am going to start a very important interview preparation session. If you want to join, and that should be joined by you, and you can contact me on my numbers. My numbers are given. You can just send me a message. And second announcement is that I'm going to conduct another written test preparation session for Ppsc, Fpsc, KPPSC and Sindh Public Service Commission. If you want to join, that is very beneficial for you. You can send me the message on my numbers. Let's start, please. Question number 1. Which test is used for equality of two population variances? Very, very important question. We know if you want to test two population variances, if you want to test two or more than two population, means if you want to test linearity, overall significance of the regression model, linearity of regression, if you want to test several correlation coefficients, in all these cases, whenever you want to test two population variances, three or more than three population, means linearity of the regression model and several correlation coefficients, in all these cases you use F test, a very, very important one, which is the ratio of the two population variances. Question number 2. Which test is used for the linearity of the regression? F test. Next, parameters of hypergeometric distribution. We know in hypergeometric distribution there are three parameters: small n, capital N and K. A very, very important question. Question number 4. N is equal to 40, P is equal to 0.8. What is the value of expected value? Actually, you are to find mean, which is mu, which is NP, and that will be 40 multiplied by 0.8, and 32 will be the correct answer in the exam. I'm discussing different questions. These questions as well as different more questions for you. These are important for every written test of statistics. Question number 5. Degree of freedom for the paired t-test. We know we have the case of before and after. In the case of t-test, and we find out d, x minus y. But degree of freedom will be same. That will be n minus 1. If there are 5 observations in each x and y, then n minus 1, this is n or this is n, 5 minus 1, that will be 4, will be the degree of freedom in the case of paired observations. Question number 6. The sampling distribution of the proportion of successes in case of small sample when n is less than 30, we use binomial distribution. Next question is very, very important, and I have discussed that type of question in the class. Variance of x. X is given 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Variance of x is given, that is 8, and y is also given. It is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. I have taught to my students many times all the measures of dispersion. It is range, standard deviation, variance, quartile deviation, mean deviation. They all are independent of origin. If you add or subtract a constant value in all the observations of x, they remain unchanged. Just imagine 2 minus 1 is 1, 4 minus 1 is 3, 6 minus 1 is 5, 8 minus 1 is 7, 10 minus 1 is 9. It means if you subtract y is equal to actually x minus 1, and we are to find out variance of y, that will be equal to variance of x, because if 1 is subtracted or added, that will not change the value of the variance of y. So variance of y will also be equal to 8. 8 is the correct option. Question number 8. Which of the following distributions satisfy the memoryless property? And this is exponential distribution. Next question is, if x and y follow bivariate normal distribution, then the conditional distribution of y given x follows, that also follows normal distribution. Question number next. Which of the following theorem stated that if a certain set of assumptions are met, the ordinary least square estimate for regression coefficients give you the best linear estimate? Dear students, if you have y, the dependent variable, it is marks of the students. x1 is hours of study. x2 is attendance. With the help of these two independent variables in regression model, we want to estimate, we want to predict our dependent variable, and that is marks of the students. And ordinary least square estimate give you actually the estimate for predicting dependent variable, which minimizes the sum of square of residual, and that is actually Gauss-Markov theorem. This theorem states that if you want to predict y with the help of the independent variables, that will give you ordinary least square estimates for the regression coefficients x1 and x2 for predicting y when minimizing the sum of square of residuals. A very, very important question. Next question number 11. Heteroscedasticity means, and I have discussed in the class heteroscedasticity. When the variances of the error term are not constant, then we have heteroscedasticity. If my independent variable is time for the study hours and y is the marks of the students, for the different values of the independent variable, we have much variation in our y in the dependent variable, then we have heteroscedasticity. For example, if students are studying 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, these are the values of x, but y is very close to each other. Marks are 55, 56, 57, 54, 57.5. This is x. When we change the x, when we have different values of the independent variable, y has not much dispersion. Then we have homoscedasticity. And whenever the variance of the error term is not constant, when for different values of the independent variable, there is much variation in the y, there is much dispersion in the values of the dependent variable, then we have heteroscedasticity. Next question is, in simple linear regression analysis, the error term follows normal distribution with mean. We know the properties of the error term in the simple linear regression model, and these are, number 1 is linearity, normality, no multicollinearity, normality, independence, and homoscedasticity. These are the properties, and when error term is normal, its mean is equal to 0 and its variance is constant, that is sigma square. Number next, the design in which every block does not receive all the treatments but only some of the treatments are called, it is incomplete block design. And when we use RCBD, whenever there is large variation in the data, for example, we have 5 blocks, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, and there are 4 treatments to be applied. It is B randomly, it is C, it is A, it is D. Actually, this is the condition in RCBD. Every treatment must be used one time in every block, but whenever it is not fulfilled, we are not using every treatment in every block, then it is incomplete RCBD, incomplete block design actually. Next question is, a chi-square distribution with a degree of freedom 2 is what with a mean value? Actually, it will become, whenever in chi-square we have degree of freedom 2, that will become exponential with its degree of freedom with mean value of 2. Next question is, if n is equal to 25, sigma is equal to 10, then what is sigma x bar? We know its property, sigma over under root n, that will be 10 over under root 25, that will be 10 over 5, 2 will be the correct answer. Next question is very, very important. If all the points lie on the regression line, for example, the line is y is equal to 2x plus 5. If all the points lying on the regression line, then what will be R? R will be perfect positive correlation, that will be R is equal to plus 1. If all the points are lying on the regression line, it means that it is perfect positive correlation or perfect negative correlation, -1 or +1. Next is power of the test. We know actually there are 4 concepts: alpha, 1 minus alpha, beta, 1 minus beta, and this is power of the test, 1 minus beta. It is the probability of rejecting H naught when H naught is actually false. Alpha is the probability of rejecting H naught when H naught is true. 1 minus alpha is the probability of accepting H naught when H naught is true. Beta is the probability of rejecting H naught when it is false. It is the probability of accepting H naught when it is false. These 4 are very, very important concepts. Next question, number 18. Size of the test means size of the critical region. Next question is very, very important for every written test as well as the interview. What will you say for regression sum of squares over total sum of squares? Many questions can be asked for this topic, and I will give you some clues, some important MCQs. But a regression sum of squares over total sum of squares, it means explained variation. Regression sum of squares means explained, and total is total. Actually, and I can also write summation y cap minus y bar whole square. This can also be asked in the question, in the paper, in the exam, in every FPSC, Ppsc, KPPSC, SPSC exam. Explained variation is regression sum of squares, and explained is also called summation y cap minus y bar whole square. And what is total? It is summation y minus y bar whole square. And I can also write it, actually it is r square. And I can also write, it can be written as r square is equal to 1 minus unexplained over total. And I can also write 1 minus summation y minus y cap whole square over summation y minus y bar whole square. There are many concepts for you. First one is that r square is coefficient of determination. Second, its range is 0 to +1. Third, r square is regression sum of squares over total. Fourth, regression sum of squares is explained variation. Fifth, total is summation y minus y bar whole square. Next concept, regression means summation y cap minus y bar whole square. Next, 1 minus unexplained over total. Next, unexplained means summation y minus y cap whole square. And next important MCQ can be asked, r square tells us the total variability in dependent variable y explained with the help of all independent variables. Very, very important points and concepts. All these are for you. And for example, y is production of rice. X1 is number of waters. X2 is number of plows. X3 is fertilizer quantity. And if r square is 71.5, what does the meaning of that value? The mean of that value, it shows that 71.5% variation in y in production of rice has been explained with the help of these three independent variables: number of water, number of flow, and fertilizer quantity. And that question can be asked, what is the meaning of r square equal to 71.5, and how much variation is not explained by these three variables? It will be actually 100 minus 71.5, and that will be 28.5% variation is not explained with the help of these three variables. These all are the important questions, concepts, and MCQs for every written test of statistics. And very important concept, if y is equal to y cap and summation y minus y bar whole square is equal to summation y cap minus y bar whole square. As I told you, this is total variation and this is explained. This question can be asked in the paper, in the exam. If total variation has been explained, it means r square is equal to 1. 100% variation in y has been explained by all independent variables. And if y cap is equal to y bar and summation y cap minus y bar whole square is equal to 0, as I told you, it is regression sum of squares. And it is 0, it means no variation in y has been explained by all independent variables. It means that question can be asked, if these are equal to 0, it is regression sum of square equal to 0 and y cap is equal to y bar, then r square will be equal to 0. A very, very important concept. And regression, and you can also say that explained variation is equal to total minus unexplained, and that can be written as summation y cap minus y bar whole square. As I told you earlier, that will be summation y minus y bar whole square minus summation y minus y cap whole square. This is unexplained. As I told you, this is total, this is explained. Next question is, which of the following is an assumption of ANOVA, analysis of variance? It is used when we are going to test 3 or more than 3 population means, and it has very important. The answer is both independence and normality. But I want to discuss all the properties. It has assumptions. Normality, analysis of variance has the assumptions. It should be, normality should be there. Normality, independence of samples, independence of observations in each sample. Next is homoscedasticity, and the last one is equal sample sizes. If you have 4 samples and each has 7 values, this is the condition, equal sample sizes. So these can be asked in the exam. Next question is, the curve of the normal distribution does not touch x-axis y. Actually, in the continuous distributions, every exact value has very small probability. It is not equal to 0. It is not impossible, but it has very small probability. Like if I want to say the height of 67.5 inches in continuous, that will be very small. Next question is, how many number of permutation of the letter A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H when the string is ABC? There is the condition. This is actually one part, not 3, because it is given ABCs should be there. And how many numbers are these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 and 1, 6 factorial, and then you will have to calculate. That will be 720. Next is, which of the following is not measure of multicollinearity? Actually, directly long run of the data is not for multicollinearity. Next is, if p value is equal to 0.07, P is 0.07, alpha is 0.05, P value is greater than alpha, we have not enough evidence to reject H naught. It means we are accepting H naught. Next is in the presence of autocorrelation. What is autocorrelation? I will give you some concepts. First one is autocorrelation. One is covariance, second is covariance, third is correlation. Actually, autocorrelation is the correlation of the values of a variable for successive time periods. We have the correlation of one variable values for the successive time periods, and after that covariance, actually it tells us the direction of change in two variables which are varying together. It does not tell us the strength